Palestinians have been subjected to one of the longest and most sadistic genocides in history. And no, it didn't start in October 2023, and it didn't even start in 1948. No, Zionist immigrants began colonizing Palestine in 1882. And they came in wave after wave of immigration by their tens of thousands, taking land, displacing the Palestinians, and seizing farmland, seizing homes, seizing property, and seizing whole sectors of the economy. And what began as a push became a shove. And that shove became beatings, and beatings became massacres. And this has been going on for over 140 years now. And just around the halfway point of that 140 years, in 1948, this colonial ethnic cleansing project was awarded the official seal of approval and recognition with the establishment of the so-called State of Israel. So between 1882 and 1948, roughly 500,000 Zionists came into Palestine, European Zionists. And that was at a time when the indigenous population of Palestine was only around 500,000 people, 500,000 Palestinians. So Zionist immigrants literally doubled the population size in 60 years. As many foreigners came to Palestine as the number of Palestinians who already lived there. Imagine that. You know, you see all of these anti-immigration protests in the UK. Well, 60 years ago, the population of the UK was around 55 million. So to put Zionist immigration into Palestine into perspective, the UK would have to have had an equal number of immigrants over the last 60 years as the number of people who already lived in the UK in 1964. Double the population, all with immigrants. That means take the 55 million British people from 1964 and add another 55 million immigrants. What you have actually had in the UK in the last 60 years is only around 11 million immigrants. That's a 20% increase. Well, in Palestine, it was a 100% increase. And there was no talk about assimilation. Oh, no. The immigrants, the Zionist immigrants, they didn't mean to assimilate with the Palestinians. They didn't speak the language. They didn't work together. They didn't mix. They didn't integrate. They came to take over. They came to conquer Palestine. They didn't come to try to get along. You know, these anti-immigrant protesters in the UK are talking about how supposedly immigrants are taking our jobs. They're talking about how our culture is disappearing, our country is losing its identity, and so on. Well, imagine if your country got hit with a tidal wave of immigrants equal in number to the total number of citizens that you have. And that deluge of foreigners entering your country not only take your jobs, but take your homes, take your land, and they take your whole economy, and they completely shut you out. And then they literally start committing pogroms against your own people in towns, in villages, and so forth, and they take over your agriculture, they take over all your industry, and they start saying that there's no such thing as British people, there's no such thing as English people. Let them all go to Dover, let the English people all go to Amsterdam, they can go there, they're all white people, they can all be together, and so they drive you out of London. First they drive you out of London, they drive you out of Manchester, you know, they drive you out of every port city, every financial and business center of the UK. Every economic center of the UK, and they push you off into the forest to go live in the hills, you know, English refugees in Scotland living in camps. While you're mad about the little stream of immigrants that you have, and you raise hell over any time some individual immigrant commits a crime, while the rest of them, as you know perfectly well, they do everything possible to try to assimilate and try to integrate and try to contribute to your economy and to your society. Meanwhile, the Zionist immigrants into Palestine committed organized, systematic, brutal mass violence against the Palestinians. And you people who think it's wrong for foreigners to come into your country, even in comparatively small numbers, you absolutely flooded Palestine with immigrants. With violent, hostile, aggressive immigrants decade after decade after decade for 140 years. So you tell me, what do you think that English people would do? Look at how they act now. If you want to know the immigration issue that the Palestinians were subjected to, well, you'd have to take your immigration issue and double it. Then double it again. Then double it again. And yes, double it even one more time after that And then imagine that you have 55 million immigrants in the UK who are armed, who are hostile, and who deny that you even exist or have a right to exist. And you tell me, what do you think that the English would do in that situation? Oh, and then let's say, after you've driven them out, after they've driven you out of London, in fact, they've driven you out of England, and you're just eking out an existence in Wales in refugee camps somewhere. And then the immigrants who came to your country, they decide to start a straight-up genocide, and they kill over 1 million of you in 9 months. Well, that's the equivalent of what's happening now. You know, you lose your minds over a comparatively minor number of immigrants coming into your country. Immigrants that you need anyway, if you want your economy to function at all. But you feel overwhelmed by these immigrants coming into your country. Even though they do everything they can to try to get along with you. They do everything they can to try to assimilate with your ways. They learn your language and they contribute to your society and so on. But meanwhile, you fund, you defend, you sponsor, you arm, you train the most violent, vicious, hostile, aggressive immigrants in the world to terrorize Palestine. You're supporting a genocide by immigrants against the Palestinians, while at the same time you're rioting in your own country because you feel that your immigrants over there might get a job instead of you. Honestly, wallahi, you exist in a state of zero moral gravity.